I mean it when I say I didn't really want to talk about today's topic. It's just some medium rare internet beef that I think is just kind of worthless to go over, but so many people keep bringing it up to me that I feel I should at least talk about it to some extent. So I'll go ahead and cannonball into the septic tank and doggy paddle around for a bit. The main topic involves a banned YouTube creator that I'm sure you've all heard of before. His name is Sneako. A lot of people compared him to like a diet Andrew Tate. He recently got banned, and he still does make content elsewhere. And recently he started targeting me because I made jokes about his friends on the Fresh and Fit podcast, whom I think are beautiful clowns that do some very silly stuff that is entirely entertaining to make fun of. But Sneako didn't see it that way because he's a very sensitive guy, and he started writing their wieners to try and defend a blatantly outrageous story that one of them told about meeting a basketball player at a party, then being invited by that basketball player to a mansion and then fucking a ton of girls at that mansion thanks to the basketball player, which sounds like something a Tumblr account would have made up, and ending with "and everybody clapped." It was such a goofy piece of fan fiction, it felt like he was begging to be humiliated and made fun of, so I started throwing some balls at the clown and dunking them in the tank. I made a video talking and joking about it, and Sneako saw this and he wasn't too happy, so he got offended on his friend's behalf, which of course is a very alpha male thing to do. I know Sneako doesn't like that nomenclature. He never calls himself an alpha male and thinks that it belittles him, but his fan base is and has been red-pilled and thinks of him as like a no-nonsense kind of guy who tells it like it is, a man's man. And yet Sneako cries more than a 12-year-old going through puberty and has very public temper tantrums like a child who didn't get the Spider-Man toy they wanted for Christmas. So he was upset because I was making fun of them. He then makes a big rant about me, calling me a bitch, saying all kinds of things. He doesn't really make any points, he just insults my appearance a lot and makes very bold assumptions about me not going outside and shit like that, which of course has nothing to do with anything I was saying, nor does it debunk any of my points. Not that I was even really making points, I was just making jokes about a silly fucking story, and he's taking it as if I just gave a TED Talk on monogamy, because for some reason he somehow gets lost in like this Winter Soldier episode, like this delusional fantasy, where he starts making a statement on monogamy, which of course had nothing to do with the video I made.
I'm not gonna say names. Someone texted me. He's in a monogamous relationship. This is his girl. So there you go. I mean, I told you, like, I could hear it in your voice. The fact that someone doesn't have to abide by those rules. Someone could go and fuck a lot of bitches. That it's so foreign to a lot of people's ideas, because when you get brainwashed, when you get told that monogamy is the answer.
What the fuck are you even talking about? What does this have to do with anything? What does bringing up a picture of me and my girlfriend have anything to do with anything that has happened? And where is monogamy even coming from? You're fighting an invisible enemy right now. You're fighting ghosts that aren't real. Like, none of this had anything to do with the video itself of me joking about a stupid fucking story that this guy told. Like, it's so weird, and he's been mad ever since, as I understand it. I, of course, don't really watch him, but I keep getting updates on Sneako not being happy, wiggling his finger saying, I don't really like this Charlie guy anymore for this. Now, like I said, because so many people keep bringing this up to me every day, I felt obligated to at least, you know, talk about this a little bit and engage with the drama, even though I don't really want to. What I do want to talk about, though, is the Black Friday Moist Global merch sale, baby. A lot of great merch on moistglobal.com is a lot of money off right now, so go to moistglobal.com to get some fucking beautiful items, and we even have some really fun, goofy ones that are in stock right now, such as this wonderful Happy Coat, which is kind of like a bathrobe. It's fantastic. And we also have some Yu-Gi-Oh! Inspired designs available right now as well, which are just fun items, and once all of these are sold out, they won't be restocked, so if you're at all interested, go to moistglobal.com, the link's in the description. I'm gonna keep this on for the rest of the video. The only thing I'm missing now is a cigar, so really get into character here. I'm gonna go ahead and talk a little bit more about this. I am pretty familiar with Sneako, probably more so than a lot of his more modern fan base is. I first became aware of his content when he got mad at me a couple years ago because I was criticizing a movie called Cuties. For those that don't know, Cuties was a movie that went to Netflix, and it was basically just softcore child porn. It was a movie that focused on twerking and a coming-of-age film that used real children in real positions of, like, sexualization, where during, like, a twerking contest, they'd have cameras that would go, like, right into their ass and zoom in. It was fucking disgusting stuff. And I made a whole video talking about how fucked up it is that not only does it exist, but Netflix has promoted it and it's on their service. Regardless of what the intention was or what the message aimed to deliver from the director, it completely missed the mark. By using real child actors and doing the things that they did in the film, it became a movie that was only enjoyed by legitimate, real, self-admitted pedophiles. And I made a video talking about how gross that whole situation was, and Sneako made a response to it saying that the outrage around this film is misplaced and it's actually a good movie.
Americans are like, this is deplorable. I saw this commentator, Penguinz0, who I actually like. There's not a lot of good commentators, but he's like, this movie is deplorable. There's nothing good about it. There's nothing. And it's like he didn't even watch the movie. It's just like he only saw the clips that were gonna piss him off. Or he just got so triggered by the provocative imagery that he just, deplorable. Come on, man. Like, don't you see the reasons why she's doing what she's doing?
Sneako has said multiple times, even in his most recent rant, that he does like my content, though I'm pretty sure he just says that to cushion the blow and, like, tiptoe around it, like, before insulting me. Just in case there's anyone in his chat that likes my content, he wants to make sure to not make them upset, so he makes sure to preface it by saying, well, I actually do like him, but... and then goes on to get super personal about it. This was my first real exposure to Sneako, and it's also the reason I don't care what his opinion is of me, because it's coming from a man who likes cuties. So why the fuck would it matter if he thinks I'm a bitch or anything like that? It legitimately couldn't mean less coming from a guy who openly defends a softcore child porn production.
Okay, if I ever wanted to get canceled, this is the video. I saw Cuties last night and it was pretty good. It's a pretty good movie. I went in ready to hate like everybody else. I saw the cover and I got clickbaited. So did you. You got clickbaited. The thing about Cuties is it's not an unrealistic film. Like, yes, it shows children in a sexual way, but this is not unusual now. And the people who are really mad about this aren't Gen Z.
Now, the reason I'm showing this isn't just to debate a multiple-year-old Sneako video that he completely ate shit on and had the worst possible take of with this whole cutie situation. The reason I'm showing this is because I haven't liked him since I saw this side of him. I was aware that he made other content, and apparently some of it was pretty good a couple years back, but once I saw this video, it just showed me a really weird guy who it seemed like really just wanted to be contrarian for the sake of it and makes terrible points in defense of this film for some reason. Like, even in your own video, you openly admit right there that yes, it sexualizes children. Full stop, that's not okay. That's a problem.
Like, this girl, at one point, she takes a picture of her vagina and posts it on Instagram. Kids naturally just rebel. I like this movie because it's extremely provocative, but it's realistic. A major criticism of this film was that it's child porn, that they were just showing these kids and that it's gonna bring a bunch of pedophiles in. I don't think so. I don't think so. Not more than anything else that's on the internet now, or not more than beauty pageants in America, which still exist and are exactly what you see in the film.
Do you go to beauty pageants to watch the kids, Sneako? I certainly hope not. Just because the beauty pageants, which are fucked up, completely agree, just because those exist in the real world doesn't mean that that's justification for this movie. I feel like that should be obvious. You can't use this whataboutism like, oh yeah, Cuties has a lot of sexualization of children, but what about, you know, child beauty pageants? I mean, those are out there in the real world, so what's wrong with Cuties being on Netflix? I won't show you any more from this video, it's dog shit all across the board, but there is one more thing I'd like to highlight. Even when Sneako started to rise to popularity, I didn't pay too much attention because, again, in my mind, he will always be that guy that for some reason fights for this film, which is just fucking weird. So he's always just been kind of a weird person to me that I don't pay too much attention to, but I couldn't help but take notice of one of his more recent viral clips where he openly defends getting cucked.
So I wanted to break this down, like, because this was, imagine seeing the girl you love, like,
get fucked.
Get fucked.
You love her?
Yeah, I do. I love it. Yeah, I love her. I was about to say I love this bitch. I'm like, no, let me not say that. I love my wifey, my queen.
And you allowed the love of your life to get fucked by another man.
What happened to the other agreement? Why did that one last?
I'm crazy.
The first time, as soon as I saw it, like 3 pumps in, I just got up and walked out. I'm just like, I can't do that. Like, feeling traumatic thoughts, like seeing her with another person. It's a lot. It's a lot. But I think it's something everybody should do just to test. You know what?
It is a legitimately super sad thing to sit there and listen to, because Sneeko is very clearly bothered by that whole situation, but is trying to play it off like a deeper message, like, no, this is actually a good thing, and in fact, I recommend every guy out there try letting their girl get fucked by another man. Then you'll know if it's real, if this is the person you want to spend the rest of your life with. It is fucking tragic to listen to. Now, I want to be clear, I have absolutely no problem with open relationships. I think everyone should be completely within the right to handle their relationships however they see fit and whatever makes them happiest. Contrary to what Sneeko thinks about me, I have legitimately no issue with open relationships at all. But what Sneeko's talking about here isn't so much an open relationship, it's cuckoldry. You have watched your girl get fucked in front of you on at least 2 occasions that he talks about here. And you were right next to her, watching her get fucked, and one time you were so upset about it you had to leave the room after the 3rd pump, you said. You're clearly not really alright with this situation. You're for some reason forcing yourself to be okay with it. Like, I'm not trying to sit here and be an armchair psychologist like you try to do against me during your rants, but it really seems like you don't like it. And yet, for some reason, you're also trying to celebrate it and promote it like a good thing. It's just super sad. Like, if you're fucking other girls and she's fucking other guys, that's one thing, but you being in the same bed that she is fucking another man in and watching her, and then even talking about how, like, upset you were about how much she was moaning and the deep eye contact she was making with the man she was fucking in front of you, like, you're not really okay with it, it sounds like. So stop trying to pretend to be, and stop trying to make it seem like this is a good, healthy thing for everyone that everyone needs to try. It's just pretty sad. So this is always in the back of my mind when he starts critiquing my relationship, or really any relationship for that matter. Like, what really gives you the right, especially when you're clearly in a very complicated situation in your own mind with your relationship? So, like I said, I didn't really want to talk about this, but he apparently keeps shitting on me and making a big hoopla about it, and people keep bringing it up to me, so I felt like I should at least address it in some capacity. So this is me talking about it, and that's about it. So yeah. Did you see someone exposing BitBoy's scam while he was on stage and him having a meltdown? I totally forgot about that. Yes, I did. Hold on, let me pull that up. That was so shameful. BitBoy, you'll remember, is the douchebag on YouTube who's the crypto bro who peddles garbage. Like, he's just a prolific, untrustworthy person in the crypto space. A YouTuber named Atozy called him out in a video talking about the shit that he's done, calling him a dirtbag. BitBoy got his feelings all hurt, so he tried suing Atozy for 75 grand or something. And he ended up getting laughed off the internet, so he retracted the lawsuit. But he still makes content, and recently at his, I don't even know what this is, I guess the BitBoy Con, I don't know, convention to celebrate BitBoy's clownery, a woman went on stage and confronted him about it, and he doesn't hold it together very well.
No one needs Where's the evidence? Let's hear it. Where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? Give the evidence. Yeah, don't give the evidence. This is your moment.
This is... So what's happening is here... What's happening... She came up and is like, man, fuck you. You're a fraud. Your shit's bad. You're stinky. Boo. Boo, BitBoy. Boo. And he's like, oh, you think I'm a fraud? Well, where's your evidence? Pull up your evidence. She's like, bet. So she goes to Zach XBT, who made a huge thread not too long ago, it was back in January, that pointed out so much of BitBoy's garbage. Like, poking holes in everything BitBoy has pretty much ever done, really. It's such a thorough beatdown of his whole career, and she brings it up here, and BitBoy's not super happy.
Show me the issue.
He continues to invite it, challenging her.
So guys, we can just go and check all the evidence posted by Zach XP.
A thread from a year ago.
It doesn't matter whether it's a year ago.
It doesn't matter at all. His defense was, oh, it's old, that's a year old. So you were scamming a year ago then. Like, it doesn't change anything. All of the information is still accurate, even if it's a year old. You still did this. It doesn't really change it, so it's a bad defense. BitBoy's sweating, getting a little swamp-assy, and then it gets real rough.
When you do
Please
this...
go and check all the evidence.
Oh, okay, You're a child molester. You're a child molester. You're a child molester.
Okay, can you let me complete now?
No, I don't have to back it up with evidence. It's just something that I said.
You know what?
This woman is a child molester. She's a murderer. She's a murderer.
Look at you, you're shaking. You know when people shake.
Yikes. So his defense, after she brings up the Zach XBT thread, his response is, you're a child molester, murderer, murderer. Like, he just had this biblical meltdown in his mind. He could no longer even pretend to not be offended, bothered, and he had no rebuttal, so he defaulted to child molester and murderer. It's so goofy.
Those are psychological evidences. We know when you're wrong, you
baseless accusations.
Baseless accusations. Pretty big bit boy L today. But if you go to his Twitter, he's still a man. You know, he still thinks pretty highly of himself. He's still, you know, he's not disappointed in the man he sees in the mirror. He still talks a big game. So, like, here's him, here's him from only, what is this, 2 hours ago? 3 hours ago. Too big to care at the gym, baby. Yeah, getting swole out here. Might call a woman a child molester. Thinking about it. Bitch boy. Yep, after the Atozi drama, everyone started calling him Bitch Boy Crypto, which I think is a great nickname. He did address the drama, kind of. In one of his shows, he took like 5 seconds to say, just like snot-nosed YouTuber that I was suing, but it's not worth my time. Lawsuit's done. He made it sound like he was the good guy, and he's like, I just decided it's not even worth it. That was the only acknowledgement of the case that he ever did. Bro's pushing 50 and called BitBoy. I know. Like, if he wasn't such an asshole, I would actually find all of this adorable. Like, he's very clear. Like, I've listened to him. I watched the Tozi's video, so I did a little dive on him. He's very clearly not knowledgeable on this space at all. There was I pulled this up on stream. I don't know if I'll be able to find it now because it's been a couple months. Someone did a breakdown of all of the things that he told people to invest in, all the crypto moonshots he told people to put their money in, and someone tallied up all of them for like 7 months. And on every single one of them, they were either rug pulls or you lost 60 to 90% of your money. Only 2 of them had any returns, and those returns were like 2 to 3% returns. 2 out of like 90 recommendations. Like, he's just fucking terrible at everything he does. Even if he's not blatantly scamming, he is still giving the worst advice in the space. You know, fuck it. I'm going to try and find that thread again because it was so good. Oh, here it is. It's the first thing that came up. This isn't the original thread, but it looks like they still circulate this around. This was the information. It's just this isn't the original thread. This is someone just responding to him with it. But the person who compiled this went through all of his like recommendation crypto moonshots, and these were the returns. So they went to the video, and then they went to where it is now to see what you will have made. And only 2 of them were green. Whole market was down. Is that why? I mean, that even still, like, it's all of them except for like, I guess, Ripple were just fucking crazy moonshots or just like blatant scams that he was peddling. This isn't all of it. This is just one of the screenshots. But no, it's not just the market being down. If you'd like to see BitBoy in all of his douchey glory, there's actually another angle of this train wreck, so I'll go ahead and play that for you, but just the end here because the audio quality is also a little clearer.
You do this.
Please go and check all the evidence.
Oh, okay, so you're a child molester. You're a child molester. You're a child molester.
Okay, can you let me complete now?
No, I don't have to. I don't have to back it up with evidence. It's just something that I said.
You know
this
what?
woman is a child molester. She's a murderer. She's a murderer.
Look at you. You're shaking. You know when people shake? Those are psychological evidences. We know when you're wrong,
No, it's because I'm angry at baseless accusations.
Watching BitBoy Crypto is a lot like watching your drunk uncle embarrass themselves on Thanksgiving every year, but somehow BitBoy has an audience that must hate money, because by following his advice, they're just perpetually flushing all of their cash down the toilet. And speaking of flushing things down the toilet, BitBoy has once again ruined his reputation to anyone that's not in his cult-like following. What he was trying to do here is call her names like child molester and murderer as an attempt to say, oh look, you can slap labels on anyone without proof. But it doesn't really work because she did bring proof and evidence to suggest that you have had a history of shilling scams, which you have. That's not defamatory, that's not slanderous, that is a provable fact. You have shilled projects that have turned out to be scams. Now I want to quickly show the thread that she was referencing, the Zach XBT thread, because it's actually a very insightful thread into the character of BitBoy and how he does business. So if you're interested, you can look that up and take a bit of a dive on the history of BitBoy. Zach XBT was also the one responsible for tracking the return on investment from BitBoy's suggestions, and he even clarified that he did the year-to-date calculations pre-market crash. So all of this was without the market being in the shitter. Pretty impressive resume from BitBoy here. It looks like 1 out of every 1,000 projects he shills might give you a 5% return at best and a 92% loss at worst. Great odds. What a remarkable joke. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about him a little bit because I thought it was a very silly video, and that's about it. See ya. Well, my friends, the time is upon us. The drama train has finally reached its last stop. Give yourself a pat on the ass. You deserve it for sticking it out through this bumpy ride. Last night, around midnight, we received the season finale, the conclusion to the Nintendo/Panda Cup/Smash World Tour drama. Alan finally released his side of this situation, his account of everything that happened. He dropped a 31-page statement going over everything from his point of view. I went over all of it on stream, and I'm going to show you all of that. I did it all piece by piece, but right in the beginning of the video, I want to get a couple things out of the way. First of all, I called this verbatim what his tweet would say. And I know this may seem juvenile and vain, but god damn it, I think there needs to be credit where credit is due. I pinned the tail on this donkey, and I nailed this prediction. Do I think there'll be an apology video? No. I don't know Alan super well. My guess, though, based on this behavior, he's going to come out with something like the truth, or it's time you know what really happened. And then Alan's statement, the truth. Of course, you could make the argument that this was easy to predict since a lot of drama response videos and tweets start with like the truth or something, but it doesn't matter. I don't care. I still called it correctly, so we need to appreciate that fact. Now, on to important stuff. Alan's statement is more he said, she said. Most of everything that's happened with this drama is hearsay. From all sides of this situation, Nintendo saying, no, we said this verbally, but Smash World Tour saying, no, you didn't say that verbally. In fact, you said the opposite verbally. It's just all across the board. It's a lot of people saying, they said this, no, they said that. However, Smash World Tour is so far the only source that has provided concrete evidence, like receipts. They published some receipts today in response to Alan's statement. So, like I said, Alan's statement is mainly more he said, she said, but in the very beginning of his statement, he gets a little conspiratorial and makes an extremely bold claim that the Smash World Tour was a gambit that they may have never even had the intention of completing in the first place. They may never have even wanted to have the championship unfold. And he makes the statement that the hotel that it was supposed to take place at was never even booked. It never existed. That whole block never existed. This is unequivocally false. It was proven wrong almost immediately. It is either a blatant malicious lie or he is severely misinformed. Not only was it proven wrong by the community, you can go on Marriott.com and still see that you can book a reservation for that event, for the Smash World Tour fans and friends at the Marriott. And if that wasn't enough proof, Smash World Tour today, in a response to Alan, posted their most recent invoice from booking that event. So this statement from Alan is completely wrong. For me personally, that was a giant red flag that immediately cast doubt on his reliability as a truthful narrator for his perspective here. Of course, this could have been somehow just a big mistake on his part, but with something of this magnitude, that's a very large mistake to make, because he hung a lot of his belief on the fact that the Smash World Tour was a gambit, and then used that kind of statement as like a gotcha, like a smoking gun. No, it was never even booked, when it was. There is another head-scratching moment in this document where he claims to not know who LD is, one of the key people behind Beyond the Summit, an organization that he mentions multiple times in this document as, like, you know, complimenting them on their importance, and yet somehow he doesn't know who LD is. He made a statement saying, I don't know who this guy is, but he's going around saying some shit and I don't even know who the fuck it is, when he is literally one of the biggest figures in the Smash tournament organizer scene. Like, it's very hard to believe that Alan, despite the communication he's had with BTS and despite how much he seems to know about them, would have no idea who LD is. Very, very weird stuff. But again, I went through each one of these lines. I went sentence to sentence with a fine-tuned comb to get like the entire story, the entire situation, and go through all of it to get all sides. So you'll see all of that. I just want to get like this brief overview here because this is just a lot of information to take in. I do also want to mention that Smash World Tour, in their response to Alan today, posted a screenshot of the email communication they had between Nintendo, which showed them declining their licensing for 2022 and 2023, which they didn't even apply for 2023, by the way. And after their verbal communications with Nintendo where they said the time is over, it is very clear now, with that evidence being posted, why the Smash World Tour was canceled. This is something Nintendo's done before with Big House, where Big House was told by Nintendo you probably shouldn't go through with this. They decided to go through with it anyway. Then they got formally cease and desisted right before the event took place. What happened here is very much the same. Nintendo strongly implied that they shouldn't go through with the Smash World Tour considering they weren't getting a license. They said verbally that the time of unlicensed events is a time that's gone now. So after they got declined, they naturally believed that they shouldn't go through with it or else they'll have what happened with Big House happen to them. And Nintendo is not a company you want to get into a litigious battle with or anything, so they made the decision that it needs to be canceled because Nintendo is implying heavily that it needs to be canceled. So that evidence is now posted on the Smash World Tour's response, so it's another important piece to this puzzle. And there's one more thing I want to mention before really diving in. I think it's important to mention that immediately after publicizing this and everyone having the chance to read it, there were like 10 or 15 tournament organizers in the Smash scene that have been around for decades and they're very well respected that all came out to talk about how negative their experience with Alan has been over the years, and corroborating a lot of the claims that Smash World Tour made about him, as well as claims made by BTS about Alan. And these are tournament organizers that weren't even associated with this drama in the slightest. In fact, one of them was even praised by Alan in his statement, but then they came out and said, well, that's weird because we had a terrible experience with you, and then listed all the problems they had with Alan. These were people that weren't named and shamed by Alan. They weren't forced to respond or defend themselves. These were people in the scene that have had an experience with Alan that they wanted to talk about publicly and call him out for his bad behavior, and they called his statement manipulative or even just straight up wrong or lying. And it was a lot of people all going against Alan and corroborating the claims made by Smash World Tour and BTS. Now again, it is all hearsay. There was no hard evidence or anything like that. It was just an overwhelming amount of tournament organizers that have been in the scene for decades that are all saying the same thing about Alan. Meanwhile, on Alan's side of things, it's only him. I have yet to see even a single person come out and try and verify anything Alan has said or corroborate any of his points. It is just him. Now, whether or not that has any weight is entirely up to you. For me personally, I think with the overwhelming amount of support for Smash World Tour and BTS claims, as well as saying a lot of what they've said, and these, keep in mind, these are unassociated tournament organizers. They don't work for BTS, they don't work for VGBC or anything like that, yet they still are giving their first-hand accounts with Alan, and they're all very much similar, like they're echoing the same things. To me, that carries a lot of weight because those are very well-respected figures in the scene, and they are just blowing the lid wide open here, letting the genie out of the lamp and giving their full, unfiltered opinion on Alan and his behavior from what they've experienced. Alan doesn't have that kind of support. There's no one that's saying those things for him. He is the only one that is saying the things he is. No one else is backing him up. Whether or not that's because they're afraid of public backlash is very possible. That could be an explanation, but there's really no telling. The support on the other side of things is just hard to ignore. I am no longer the CEO of Panda, and I will no longer be a part of the Smash community. I do not wish to return. Community deserves the truth, and I'm not afraid to call out names I have to. The private information of myself and members of Panda have been leaked online. This has gone too far. If there's anyone who is interested in purchasing my shares of Panda, please reach out to the company. Divesting is a complex process that takes time. Okay. So he wants to fully step away from the community after everything here, and he's about to drop the hottest potato the community's ever seen with names as well. For a quick summary, the actual truth, here is a message of notes I took during a conversation with a TO on April 14th, 2022. Ken said that you said you'd kill everyone who doesn't work with you. Is that true? Yeah, so it turns out Ken is spreading shit. To the point that blank even asked blank, how do you really feel about Panda? Do you have any hesitations? To which blank said he has none, blank. Redacted. This is like a CIA document. Everything's fucking redacted. Right away, though, he mentions that BTS and Smash World Tour feel threatened by them. It feels like the opposite. What are you talking about? The whole community was celebrating Panda working with Nintendo, including the other orgs. I don't really know where that's coming from. The Smash community has always been very symbiotic, where when one org is thriving, every org is thriving. Like, they all work together in the same bundle of success. It's not really like, oh man, Panda's doing well, now we're fucking threatened because now our shit's gonna be bad. Like, if Panda's doing well, it means now there's more interest, and that is good for the other events too, and it's always felt that way. Maybe it was different behind the scenes with Alan. I don't really know. It's super hard to decipher this mess right here. But the impression I've always got is every tournament organizer likes when other tournaments are successful because it's mutually beneficial to everyone. Yeah, all of this right here, I mean, that's a fine thing to mention. The harassment, all that shit is always terrible. That's an absolutely horrible thing that happens during situations like this, 100%. The Smash World Tour was the perfect gambit for VGBC. Information came to us from an anonymous source all the way back in 2020. VGBC was feeling pushed out of the community from losing so much ground to BTS, they wanted something of their own and came up with the Smash World Tour Gambit. He's treating this like he's Lelouch from Code Geass. What do you mean a gambit and losing ground to BTS? It's not a competition. Again, everything I've ever seen from the Smash community orgs is everything's grassroots. Well, it was. So when one thing's succeeding, it helps everything else succeed around them. It's always beneficial. Like, I don't think people are vying for territory or anything like that. I don't know why he's calling it like a gambit. Smash World Tour doesn't get shut down. VGBC gets their own circuit without the years of negotiation with Nintendo, which they were trying their absolute best to do and were in communication with them for a long, long time, doing everything they could. It's not like they just wanted to go behind their back. Smash World Tour uses the threat of social media backlash against Nintendo to pressure Nintendo into giving them a license, which they didn't do until they had already been declined a license. Like, they didn't pressure Nintendo into giving them a license, they did this to explain why they were shutting down, why they had to shut down. It wasn't leverage to try and get Nintendo to give them a license. Like, it wasn't trying to mount pressure to get them to release the Krabby Patty secret formula to them. It was, we're shutting down and here's why. I want to come in here real quick and further clarify on this point, because I see a lot of people hung up on this as a possible explanation for how things got so shitty about VGBC trying to make a big hoopla publicly in order to force Nintendo to give them a license. And I just think that you're not really going through the situation properly. The information all came out after they were declined, not only for 2022, but 2023. So no matter how much public backlash Nintendo would have faced from VGBC's statement with the Smash World Tour being cancelled, it would have never resulted in them getting a license. Like, if they had done this months ago, like if for some reason VGBC and the Smash World Tour were like, hey, Nintendo's being real douchebags right now, they're flopping around their meat and, you know, trying to scare us because they still haven't given us our license, it's been radio silence, can we get a hashtag Nintendo answer SWT? Then I would totally agree that they were trying to strong-arm Nintendo into giving them a license through public outrage and backlash. But the fact that all of this happened after they were declined for this year and next year, it just doesn't really make sense because it could have never resulted in them getting a license because it's already been decided that they're rejected. Smash World Tour gets shut down by Nintendo, and now VGBC is the martyr of the community due to Nintendo. Then the community will rally behind their other events to support them. Which they didn't need, the community already supported them. I don't know how he came up with such a weird view of the scene. Now, maybe things are different behind closed doors, I guess, but they had tons of support. Their YouTube channel was doing nothing but growing. Their events had huge viewership. Like, it's not like they needed this. In fact, this is very bad for them. They lost a lot of money on it and a lot of eyes. Recently been informed the main hotel in San Antonio listed in the Smash World Tour Discord did not have any pre-existing block or any expectation of large groups this weekend. There was no block canceled. It simply never existed. That was debunked by 2 people on Twitter already. Well, that was fucking quick. Let me see. Because I already can tell you right now, we at Moist Esports had paid for travel to that area. Like, that was a thing. Where can I find that being debunked? So it'd be quite shocking to realize that that was never happening in the first place. I don't know about the rest of the statement's legitimacy, but to claim the event was never going to happen because no hotel block is ridiculous. People were given stipends/flights for the event prior to its cancellation, plus the TPC venue was booked that weekend. Bear Dog Events LLC, DBA Smash World Tour, money receipt. Okay. This was quite the Allen gambit of lying here with this statement. The rest could be true. We'll still keep reading, but that was quickly debunked. That was a pretty bold one to make a claim on without being 100% sure because it's easily provable if it was booked or not. I don't know why he'd try and work that angle if it's not real. It was like 10 or 15 minutes later where I was made aware that you can still find the booking on Marriott. I already posted this information at the start of the video. I just wanted to give you everything as I went through it in real time on stream last night. But yeah, and Smash World Tour also posted screenshots of the invoice and everything. The hotel, all of it was booked. It was planning on going down. That claim from Allen is, without a shadow of a doubt, wrong. Whether or not it was wrong on purpose, like maliciously trying to mislead people or not, that's still up in the air. We don't know. Or he could have just been completely misinformed by somebody and then recklessly posted that statement in his official document. This right here is a fine thing to state, like, if they were confused by mixed messages, why didn't they email back? But they weren't confused by mixed messages. According to the Smash World Tour tournament organizers, they were told that the time of unlicensed events is behind them, and then the night before Thanksgiving said they got their email that they are not going to be licensed for this event. So connecting those dots, which anyone would do, is basically saying, you know, you can't really do this anymore. Since they were told verbally that that time is gone and then they didn't get their license, the natural conclusion someone would draw is, we can't do this. And Nintendo is not a company you want to go into a legal battle with. So I can absolutely understand where that would come from. If there was confusion, I'm sure they would have emailed back, but there wasn't because they were told verbally one thing and then received that the rejection of a license. So I don't even think there was confusion. It was pretty put in stone. But this wasn't a claim they made. They weren't saying that he sabotaged them or got them shut down. Just that his actions of strong-arming the community with threats against, like, BTS with their relationship with Nintendo made the entire scene difficult. This is talking about moving around the scheduling around BTS and Smash World Tour and, like, booking over each other and having to be flexible with dates. I also don't really get this one. Smash World Tour leadership stood to gain the most out of anyone. How? They lost their biggest event. And not only that, they lost any chance of having, like, a Nintendo relationship because of how incendiary this whole situation has been. It was a net loss for everyone. Legitimately everyone. I don't know what he thinks they gain out of this. Like, community goodwill? They already had that. More eyes on their future events? They already had that. Like, people just watch the events regardless. I don't know why he thinks they gained anything. It's just a full net loss. It's just a bad thing all around. I don't know where he gets this view of, like, them wanting community dominance. Like, I don't think they've ever shown anything like that. They're more than willing to, like, let tournaments run however they want to run. join the Panda Cup, don't join the Panda Cup, whatever. But like with Panda, there was the exclusivity to it where they wanted everything to be exclusive. They wanted all the broadcasting rights. That sounds more like community dominance as opposed to VGBC's events being like, yeah, you guys can do whatever you want. VGBC doesn't even charge you to watch party their events. Kin posted receipts. I've had a feeling he would. I have a feeling there's going to be a flood of receipts coming out after this. Yeah, this was the final act of this play here. There is a lot happening all at once. Sidebar, I've been told that someone named LD is claiming I said things. I don't know who LD is, nor do I care. As far as I'm aware, I've never talked to them, never seen them, and never met them in my life. LD is one of the actual biggest people at Beyond the Summit, like a founder. You know him. You would have had to know him, especially since you've already been talking about Beyond the Summit. I don't know why he's making these easily provable false claims, such as the hotel never being booked or whatever. Yeah, I'll double check. I'm pretty sure LD is one of the founders of Beyond the Summit. Like, been in the scene forever. So if you just go to, like, very base level, like if you just want, like, base level, not even digging too deep, going to Beyond the Summit, founded March 2012, key people are David LD and David Gods. Like, they've been there the whole time. And you've been talking about Beyond the Summit and talking to Beyond the Summit, as you've mentioned in your statement. Thus, you know LD. I don't know who Liquipedia is. I've never met Liquipedia. That's such a weird claim to make. Here's the background of my two whole personal interactions this year with BTS, or more specifically with one of the most unsavory individuals I've ever had the displeasure of interacting with, Kin Chin, aka Hotbid. Kin is also the one that just dropped the fattest load of receipts on Twitter a moment ago. At least it looks like it at a glance. Voice crack, at a glance. He's got like 7 tweets that he queued up here after reading this. BTS is a pillar of the community and sets new standards for high-quality productions in Smash all the time. Yet you don't know one of the founders, like one of the key people. I thought this was going to be a screenshot of Kin looking terrible here, like of him looking really unreasonable and mean. It just looks like really to-the-point stuff like, no, that's great. Happy to talk to them. I figured he'd look for like a screenshot that makes Kin look terrible in their conversation. But he just showed a very normal conversation here. This is talking about the broadcasting rights. So it looks like the Beyond the Summit people weren't replying to Alan, not wanting to talk to him or work to him, so he's showing the screenshots to show that they weren't receptive to his communication and attempt to work together. Which is a fair thing to show. They didn't like Alan, Alan didn't like them. Looks like Alan kept trying to reach out to make some partnership happen that BTS wasn't interested in. He yelled, "Let it happen. Let the can of worms open." Kin was willing to jeopardize the entire Smash community with reckless abandon. And it would have happened had I not figured out how to stop the escalation without him. This is reading like an actual soap opera plot. Now on stream, I didn't read this line by line of his character takedown of Kin. He made an entire section all about how much he dislikes Kin, calling him extremely unprofessional, talking about times where Kin was yelling at him and saying all kinds of like wild, over-the-top shit. I didn't read any of that out loud, but he focused very much on personally going after Kin, calling him just a terrible person to work with and all kinds of horrible things, which is very shocking for the whole community to hear because Kin has an unreal reputation. Like, squeaky clean people love Kin, not only in Smash, but in Dota as well, as I understand it. So this was one of those things that was a big shocker to the community, so a lot of people focused on that. Outside of Alan's statement, there was a lot of TOs that came out and said, wow, this makes no sense because I've worked with Kin for years, and he's been nothing but amazing. I show this tweet on stream, but I'll just mention it briefly now. There was also a tweet that talked about a situation where an organization was trying to work with Kin, but the whole deal fell through and it got really sour between them with like a business thing. But they pointed out that Kin at no point raised his voice and was actually cordial through the entire thing and extremely polite, forgiving, and they ended up working together later on down the road because of how professional Kin was. His professionalism was legendary, so much so that even with all of the business things falling apart between the two orgs, Kin was able to just stand out and still make things happen because of him just being such a good guy. So everyone came to bat for Kin, even though Alan had wrote like 6 paragraphs detailing a horrible, horrible character assassination of him, Alan is the only one that has anything negative to say about Ken, which is a little odd. Here's me talking to Alan about how running to Nintendo and banging on doors about the broadcast rights is potentially an existential threat to the entire scene. Oh, this is actually the continuation from one of the screenshots Alan posted, because it's still talking about broadcasting rights in the gray area. Where are we coming in here? I hope they don't. That'd be pretty catastrophic for every single event. I don't know what they're thinking right now, but yeah, def could get rough in some situations. I hope not. So this is him acknowledging the Nintendo broadcasting debacle that was briefly talked about in Alan's statement. Jesus, this is so much back and forth, people taking notes and talking to each other here. In that call, Alan threatened BTS multiple times. I reported the threats as the call was happening directly after to LD. My boss at the time, LD was not on the call, but there was was there as I typed a transcript of it on Slack. Here's a screenshot of me doing so. Dude, Alan's on the call legit threatening me about 2023. What the fuck? To be clear, I did not yell or explode at Alan. Of course, there's no way to prove one way or the other. He may have, he may not have. There's no way of telling. There's no hard proof on either side. Panda themselves issued a statement saying they regret Alan threatening BTS, yet he completely denies it happens here. I don't accept your apology because even here you don't actually apologize. You even say accept kin and only admit the conversation was perceived wrong. That is a fair point. In Panda's official statement, they acknowledged what Alan did and why it was bad. Well, not why it was bad. They acknowledged Alan did threaten BTS, but it looks like Alan's saying that didn't happen and he doesn't even know who LD is, which is a weird angle to play. I have not been publicly and privately turning people against Panda for months. I've simply been telling the honest story of what happened, which was threats and bullying by Panda, his own org. Threats and bullying that Panda, his own org, admitted to happening. I will say that since there's no like verbal proof either side's going to have here, I don't think any of them secretly recorded the call. Taking notes of what happened on either side is completely unreliable evidence. Because let's say I'm in an argument with someone or I'm talking to someone I really don't like, I could easily just be like, I'll just type some fucking notes right now about shit that's not happening in order to use this later if I ever need to. Because there's no way you can ever fully disprove it since it's just a verbal communication. You can literally type anything. Like, you can't put a lot of stock in, I took these notes during the conversation as they happened. On Ken's side or Alan's side, neither one of them really has a whole lot of stock in it. Like, because again, you can just type anything if you just don't like the guy. Like, it doesn't, it's not real evidence. They would need like an unbiased third party to take those notes, yeah. You would literally need a witness there to transcribe it accurately. But even Panda says Alan tried to bully the other org. No, that is confirmed by Panda as well as multiple sources. Like, that has confirmation. What I'm saying is, like, the note-taking of live conversations isn't evidence. Here's us predicting this drama and situation happening in March, which is why I didn't speak out earlier about this whole thing. I didn't want the entire community and Panda as an org to suffer. It sounds like he is so desperate that he's trying to get Nintendo to bully TOs into working with Panda. Yeah, I don't think that can even happen, though. And yeah, response is definitely a massive PR response, which gets the entire community to say fuck Panda and fuck Nintendo. Because Nintendo does actually care about public backlash, and this would be basically Evo... And this would be basically Evo 2.0. The biggest public backlash in history would be shutting down every major TO's ability to sell sponsors and broadcast rights. Yeah, it's the death of the competitive stream smash. This is them talking about, like, this could happen with the way Alan was behaving, I suppose. This is just hearsay. Yeah, so far Alan submitted no proof. The only proof he's had is that BTS didn't respond to him, but both sides are acknowledging that their conversations together were not productive and they were not friendly. They were not good conversations. So it makes sense BTS wouldn't respond to Alan going forward. That's not really showing me anything. Their unwillingness to work with him. That actually tracks. That sounds about par for the course. Okay, so he's saying that this was a misunderstanding about strong-arming and threats, I guess, by extension. That he was excited to talk about it and maybe didn't convey it properly. Which I guess? But Panda said that they were aware of a way that Alan conducted himself that was unprofessional and not good. That doesn't sound like a misunderstanding. If it was a misunderstanding, I feel like Panda would have been much more on that train of, no, Alan never meant anything by this, it was a misunderstanding. I feel like they would have defended that as opposed to just run with it. Like, yeah, we know Alan did something bad. And then, like, be dismissive. But they acknowledged it, right? But if it was a misunderstanding, I feel like they would have just said, like, no, this was a misunderstanding. I guess maybe at that point, like, the Panda PR team wasn't talking with Alan, so I'm trying to give, like, a really charitable interpretation of it, because he's saying something very different than what Panda themselves was saying with that. I would be very inclined to believe this statement. We get 10% of a much bigger pie, we don't want the full pie. If he wasn't asking for exclusivity, though, right? He still hasn't explained why it was exclusive, because it's redacted information in here. I guess that's like a super secret thing. But there'd have to be like a really good reason for it to be exclusive, because that's like the exact opposite of we don't want the full pie. Big question we get all the time is, what is Nintendo providing that makes the partnership worth it? I don't even care what he says going forward. What are they providing? Fucking nothing. Them just being there in an official capacity is more than they've ever done, and it takes a big headache away of like, will this get shut down by Nintendo? Maybe they do more than that, but all they need to do is just like sign off on it. Like, that's all they've ever had to do is just sign off on it, and if they like it, man, maybe even put like some money and like prizes behind it or some shit. I hope he addresses the reasoning of not giving the Smash World Tour license being health and safety related. I'd really like more insight on why that decision would be getting made, but I guess Alan might not be the one to clarify it. So in his closing remarks, I think there is a very real possibility that at some point along this journey, Alan really did want to do a good thing for the community, but just didn't execute it very well, and it came across as more pushy and shady, a bit sketchy, and could even be construed as being threatening. That's the impression that I get. All the TOs seem to think that Alan has never really had the community's best interest at heart, but again, this is all hearsay. I do think there is a possibility that Alan did at some point want this to be a net positive for the whole community, but went about it in a poor way, and it ended up being a overall bad thing that eventually landed us in this situation. But I still think the party most at fault is Nintendo, obviously. If Nintendo had just been more willing to work with the entire community over the last fucking decade or so, we would have never been in a position like this. If they were just more willing to actually get involved in this scene and just at least give their official blessings to other organizations running their tournaments, this would have never been something that even unfolded. There wouldn't have been like some kind of power trip or greed in this regard. I'm sure greed would have always been present some way, but in some way or another, but it would have been a lot more conducive to a healthy tournament environment. So I still think Nintendo is the biggest party at fault here, but of course, absolutely things with Alan must have gone very awry. Ooh, talking about how lit the finale would have been. Would have had arcade games, a carnival section, blackjack, hookers, gotcha machines, and crane games. God damn. And completely free. Woof. They gained the destruction of one of their competitors. I think everyone still has this really bastardized idea of how this ecosystem has worked, at least as I understand it. Even in Alan's statement, he's talking about how he always wanted to symbiotically work with the community. That's been the norm in the Smash scene. Since it's all grassroots, everyone succeeds together or they all fail together. Like, it's not... I've never seen them viewing each other as competition where they want others to fail. Because it helps them when they don't fail. Like when Panda was doing well, VGBC was doing well, BTS was doing well. When one of them was struggling, the other two then start struggling. Like they all needed to work together. It was always ride or die. I think the most important thing, like, again, all of this is hearsay. Like, there's no hard proof of anything from either side except from Smash World Tour with their side from Nintendo. They do have all of those receipts. Like, they do have that. That is all hard evidence. Everything else is hearsay at the end of the day. But the two big things here is in Smash World Tour's statement as well as what LD posted, there's nothing that's been factually proven incorrect. In Alan's statement, there are two factually just blatantly wrong things that he says that are provably incorrect. And one of them's huge, because it's what he put as like the linchpin of his statement of Smash World Tour maybe being a gambit. It's where he said, I've been recently informed the main hotel in San Antonio listed in the Smash World Tour Discord did not have any pre-existing block or any expectation of large groups this weekend. There was no block canceled. It simply never existed. That is provably incorrect. Taking notes of a verbal conversation is not evidence. That's not substantiated stuff. Like, you can say anything there and claim that you were taking notes during a conversation. It's what Alan's done here with his notes. Kin also took notes about it. Either side could be completely lying about what I actually said there as a way of having like a little bit of a weapon down the line should they ever need it. It was a transcript, no? A transcript he wrote. I could have like right now I could say the conversation you and I are having is you confessing to a crime and like, wow. User in chat said, oh my god, he buried the body underneath the pavement. Like, it's useless. Just because you say you're typing what happened, it's worthless unless it's like an unbiased third party that is transcribing it. Like, I just don't put stock into this, like, I took notes during our conversation and this is the truth, because you can't prove it. Which is why it's just hearsay. Ja, it just proves they were talking about it back then. Oh, you're talking about Kin's tweet. Yeah, at the very least, his proves they were talking about Alan and his behavior all the way back in March. That is fair. I thought you were talking about the transcripts. That is a fair thing to say. Alan and Kin and LD were talking about Alan all the way back in March about what he was doing and how they didn't appreciate his behavior. That's fair. This is not claiming to be like a transcript of something that happened. This is just a conversation the two of them had in March. That's fair. Holy shit, this is actually from a TO of Genesis giving a character witness statement on Alan. This is, as I've just learned, Genesis is like an official licensed partner with Nintendo, or at least has been. Got some shit to say, not going into detail, but from the very first moment Alan opened his mouth to the last time we spoke, nothing but snake-like sounds could be heard, like that shit in Harry Potter. Parcel tongue, my man, it's called parcel tongue. That's aggressive. Again, this is all hearsay, but I think it's important to note, every TO so far has only had negative things to say about their interaction with Alan. There has not been a TO to come forward as like a positive character witness for Alan yet. There's no evidence, but this is like the 9th or 10th TO to share very similar experiences. In one call, it was confirmed that he was to be the licensed broker for the whole scene. This has the potential to be really, really bad for everyone. That means eventually, if he wanted to, you would have to be part of the Panda Cup to get a license, one person having the keys. If that's true, that is a massive problem. Obviously for the reason he points out, but also if he just doesn't like you, he never has to grant you that license. And thus, if the time of unlicensed events is truly behind us, like Nintendo said in their call with Smash World Tour, if all of that's true, then that means you would not be able to run events without Alan's blessing as the license broker. I can go on, but generally most of the shit he's saying in that 31-page garbage tweet is a lie. It's riddled with manipulative ways of speaking, and it's just more of what I expect of a guy who thinks he's the fucking savior of Smash. This is, I guess, an important perspective because he is the TO of a very big event that is also licensed by Nintendo and was not even mentioned in Alan's tweet, or in Alan's statement. Thus, he was not put on the defensive. He didn't need to say anything. He wasn't forced to say anything. He's doing this because he felt so strongly about it with his own interaction. He had absolutely no stake in this other than just wanting to come out here and give his take on how he feels about it based on how he's talked with Alan. So this, I think, is a pretty big one. Here's the other main TO for Genesis statement. Damn, everyone's coming forward with statements now. I mean, this was a bombshell from Alan. Even though there was no evidence, it was still a very huge thing for the community. So, Crimson Blur is standing up for Kin as a character witness for how they've worked together. To add on to this, I'd like to cite a situation that happened between Genesis and BTS that Kin could have completely thrashed this over privately and publicly, but didn't really even get mad or remotely raise his voice. So this is them defending Kin in what was a very aggressive stance from Alan against Kin. So this isn't him so much talking about Alan here, it's more just defending Kin. Which pokes holes in Alan's interpretation of Kin, posting him as some kind of like boogeyman in the scene. It's such a fucking shame, man. Ugh. At the end of the day, I still think the biggest villain is Nintendo themselves. Had they just been more receptive to working with the community a decade ago, we would have never been in this position to begin with. It would have never happened. There would be no power trips. There would be no hearsay, no he said, she said shit, no potential misinterpretations, no bad blood. Everyone would be on the same goddamn page. It would have been so fucking simple. I spent over 2 years working with Ken in an office, never heard him yell or be out of line in even our biggest disagreements. Ken actually taught me a lot about being level-headed and evaluating tough situations with care, especially in meetings / BD initiatives. The amount of people coming out to defend Ken's character speaks volumes. Alan seems to be the only one with this view of Ken. No one else has come forward to corroborate Ken being an asshole. So that pokes doubt in that entire section. Because again, it's all just hearsay. Even like the character witness statements are just them giving their own anecdotal proof. But there's so many of them, whereas Alan is just one. And for what it's worth, I have also talked to Ken. Since having Moist Esports and being more intertwined with the community, I have also talked to Ken, and I have nothing but a positive experience with him as well, but I don't know him to the same level as everyone else. More and more OG members of the community come out to talk about Alan being a snake, makes it harder and harder to believe a word he says. Exactly. At the end of the day, it is all hearsay, but with so many people all saying similar things about their interaction with Alan, and so many people coming together on Ken's side about how his interpretation in Alan's document makes no sense, based on the years they've spent working with Ken, I really think that speaks a lot. The question now is, does Nintendo go full scorched earth on unlicensed events? I fucking hope not. In the most ideal of circumstances, this whole situation is a big scar on the Smash community, but it heals with Nintendo taking the first step saying, this is a mess. Boys, we done made a big ol' shit stain on these britches. But it has shown us the passion of the community and we want to work closely with other organizers. I don't see that happening. I certainly don't see it happening. But that would be the absolute optimal outcome. This was really only the start. There were so many other people in the scene that came forward giving their own accounts with Alan, as well as things that he was doing, such as trying to buy out stuff and try and take control of other things in the community. And a lot of people saying very similar things like that. There was just so much of it. I won't show you every single piece of it. There's a giant mega thread on it if you want to see it. It's on Reddit. It's also on Twitter. So yeah, it was just a lot. And I wanted to talk about this because this is absolutely the conclusion to this drama, I think. I can't imagine anything more from this. I really think this was the final performance here. And what a wild finale. I could only hope that going forward it's nothing but positivity for the community. Hopefully this didn't scare Nintendo away forever. Hopefully they are receptive to working with the community going forward and making special things happen and improving the professional Smash scene. But I think that's pretty unlikely. They've shown in the past they don't care. And with something like this happening and being a big PR disaster for them, they really might not come back, and that would be a fucking shame. But anyway, just wanted to talk about it. That's about it. So yeah. Today's story is on a YouTuber that I'm positive no adult knows or cares about, but it's just been quite some time since our last meaningless YouTuber beef that I thought this one was at least worth talking about because it's a nice little treat. It's beginning to feel a lot like 2016 with this one. So to break down the situation briefly, two YouTubers were staying at the same haunted hotel that they were using for content, but then it leads to a bit of confrontation and then eventually just a truly sour relationship between them. And there's a lot of big YouTubers involved here, and it all leads to this giant fucking black hole of main character syndrome. So they all get aggressive and they all start filming each other, so they're saying all their aggressive shit towards their camera about one another. It's a big mess. It's very goofy. The main two players here in this soap opera are Brent Rivera, a channel with 25 million subs, and I guarantee you haven't heard of him if you're over the age of 18, unless of course you're suffering from some psychological damage and actually enjoy watching an asshole babysit children, like actual kids, and for some reason make a lot of content specifically with 10 and 11-year-olds. His audience is very clearly actual toddlers, like goo goo gaga, here comes the airplane with the vegetables level children. And a couple days ago, this tough guy puffed out his chest and threw down with another big YouTuber named Tyler Oliveira. And man, what a disaster that was. Now, I don't want it to get twisted here, I'll be very clear. I have no problem with people who make content catering to children. It's extremely smart to target that demographic because of how lucrative it is. But there has to be some level of self-awareness when you do that. Like, have some shame. You're not a tough guy like Brent Rivera pretends to be. Brent Rivera got confronted in the real world, and I'm using that word loosely because it wasn't really confronting. He got trolled in real life and just for some reason acted far stronger and more badass than he is. Like, bro, you make videos eating gum off of a child's shoe. Like, why are you going to try and pretend to be like this fucking man's man when met with controversy or when met with conflict in the real world? So it ended up being a horrible look for him when Tyler Oliveira accidentally became part of a Brent Rivera video. I'll go ahead and show you the video that started all of this. Tyler Oliveira was doing a piece of content at a haunted hotel. Brent Rivera was doing one as well. And the two worlds accidentally crossed paths.
That's Brent Rivera calling security and then the cops on me after I asked him this.
Do you fake your videos?
No.
It all started when I was staying at the Shining Hotel, came out of my room, and randomly found these two girls in the hallway.
What is happening?
This isn't important by any means, but it's always so weird to me why someone like Brent will claim they don't fake their videos. Like, even children don't care, man. You can just be honest. You don't have to lie. Like, he hired these two women to pretend to be like the little girls from The Shining, and he tries to play it off as like legitimate, I guess, for some reason, which makes no fucking sense at all. This is just a nitpick. It doesn't compute with me. Like, why even bother lying about that? No one's being fooled, not even like an actual glue-eating 4-year-old. Like, there's no shot. You can just be honest. Plus, that kid's also probably not watching a Tyler Oliveira video in the first place anyway. Your secret's probably still going to be safe.
They're holding a video where he's pranking. Who? You'll see. Who are you people?
What do you mean?
What is your name?
Brent.
Brent?
Yeah.
Brent? Last name? Rivera. What is your name?
Dom.
Name?
Drew.
What are you guys filming?
Hotel video.
What is this? Who are you guys? Are you guys hired by the Brent Rivera group?
Maybe.
Okay, anyways.
You can immediately see Tyler's being very opportunistic about all of this. They just happen to both be on the same floor and they were filming this video, and Tyler walked out legitimately right in it, like a pedestrian about to get hit by a fucking car in a crosswalk. But instead of a car in this situation, it's cringe. He's getting absolutely blasted by cringe beams from all directions, and he tries to make the most out of the situation. So he takes advantage of this by directly going to Brent Rivera and his team and busting their balls about the whole thing, which leads to everyone's ham getting steamed. Everyone gets very upset. Tyler's like, oh, what's your name? Brent Rivera. Did he hire you guys? Is this all fake? Is this all a sham, a ruse, a scam? And, you know, I can understand that being a bit of a nuisance from Brent Rivera's perspective. Like, damn, this guy's just coming over here, like, all up in our shit and just, like, interrogating us when we're just trying to film this piece of kids content. Like, it can absolutely be a headache, but the way Brent handles it is atrocious. He starts, like, shaming him for using an iPhone, shaming their equipment. At one point, someone on his team belittles his subscriber number. Like, he couldn't have looked worse in this situation if he tried.
So aware that I was in the middle of a fake YouTube prank, I wanted to see if Brent would admit it, because we all know his videos are fake and he steals everyone's ideas.
I have a question for you guys. Do you guys hire these people?
We don't know who those people is.
And unsurprisingly, they made a cameo in Brent's newest video. It's almost like they know each other.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you fake your videos?
No. Do you fake your videos?
No.
This is a big who gives a fuck moment. As Tyler even mentions, everyone knows he fakes his videos, steals ideas, steals thumbnails. Like, everyone knows that. So why do you need to get him to admit it? It wouldn't change anything. And it's not exactly like a great video either. He's just doing this to instigate a conflict, obviously. And Brent Rivera just keeps escalating it. So they both play into each other here, like fucking piranhas, and they're sniffing clout in the water. Brent Rivera, though, however, is a very fucking dumb piranha, and it all backfires on him.
Alright, okay. Have fun, guys.
I don't know what's going on here. Oh god, Brent Rivera's right there.
Hey, go have fun with your 100 subscribers, man.
We get that louder.
You don't have a directional mic on that camera?
I don't know how people haven't realized that insulting someone's subscriber number, financial well-being and all of that is just an instant L. Like, somehow, people will still say some shit like that guy who said, have fun with your 100 subscribers, bud, with their whole chest. Like, they'll just let that shit rip, not knowing or being completely oblivious to how awful that makes you look. You lose the second you go there. You look like an insufferable douchebag asshole, like just a fucking pure colonostomy bag of a person. Like, it's outrageous that people still do it, like shaming him for using an iPhone, insulting his mics, which they also bring up, is everything. Is so weird. Now, I want to make it clear, Tyler's not even following them around. He's on a tour. He's on his way to the tour, and Brent Rivera's crew just snipes him on the way by and hits him with like drive-by kindergarten insults.
Hey, we're filming our thing. You film yours. Okay?
Yeah.
Let's not be.
Okay, that's reasonable.
Let's not be disrespectful, okay?
Well, you guys shit talking the iPhone, though.
I don't appreciate the disrespect.
Okay. What disrespect? I literally walked out of my hotel room and nearly had a heart attack.
Why did you walk up to us, like, enter our space?
I paid $400 a night for the hotel. What do you mean?
Yeah, but if we were normal guests, that would.
Whoa. Okay.
Brent Rivera's henchmen sidekicks are already being disrespectful to Tyler, as Brent Rivera has also already been, and yet he still tries to be like the moral authority here. The girl does make a good point, like, hey, you did come up in our shit, but then she immediately follows it up with, if we were normal guests. So putting themselves on a higher pedestal than normal people. How can people not recognize that you are an asshole for saying shit like that? You're a narcissist. Like, oh, if we were normal guests, this behavior would be acceptable for the plebeians, which we are not. Look at the subscriber count that we have.
Normal guess. You think you're elevated beyond an average human being? You've ascended the human. Wait, what are you? Wait, who are you?
You're harassing our tours.
No.
You need to back up right now. Dude, get moving. Have fun, guys.
We're not harassing. I want to say hi to my favorite YouTuber, Brent Rivera. Totally doesn't fake his videos, and it's totally awesome.
Hi. Why are you having trouble speaking?
I'm nervous in front of my idols. What do you mean?
Get out of here. All right, yeah, kick him out, bro.
Isn't that so inspiring? Brent Rivera is starting to chirp up a little bit now that security's there to make sure Tyler can't get close enough to Brent. So then he starts insulting him for fumbling words, I guess, even though I didn't notice him fumble any words. Weird thing to try and stand on, but whatever, I guess.
Anyways, great tour. We're back. Apparently, is it true you kissed your sister, Brent? You're gonna get us kicked out? You're that powerful? Yes. He'll let us stay. That was nice.
So I start walking to my room, grateful for Brent's mercy.
Brent, is that you?
It was him. They were all staring at us and filming us on, guess what, an iPhone.
Bro, are you recording us? Did you guys film your video?
The pettiness just keeps going and going and going. It's all so fucking meaningless. The kiss your sister comment, obviously, of course, now just taking jabs at Brent because everything's bubbled over like a bad stew. And Brent and his crew are now recording him and saying he's lame and shit for their own TikToks or whatever. God, it's so goofy.
Did you guys finish your video?
No.
Oh, we're not gonna be able to finish it then.
What do you mean?
I'm sorry, they're gonna come and get you guys. They're gonna kick you out.
What do you mean? We paid $375, Brent.
I'm sorry.
I'm not as rich as you, Brent.
This is the third time harassing us. Don't harass.
Whoa. You recorded me.
I'm recording you because you guys are coming up to us
okay.
every single second.
Whoa, we walked in. We're on the same floor.
It's super possible a lot of shit's edited out of Tyler's video, but everything that's here is them just literally having crossed paths and then both parties insulting each other. Like, it doesn't seem like Tyler goes out of his way, especially here in the hallway. They opened the door twice as Tyler was going to the room. That's entirely Brent Rivera and his crew playing fucking peekaboo like it's a goddamn episode of Scooby-Doo with the door opening and closing and then filming him. Now, maybe Tyler did go out of his way a couple times elsewhere that's not in the video. I guess it's possible. But it's also not like he was doing a ton of harassing of them that I've seen here, aside from the initial confrontation, which Tyler obviously leaned into and walked up to them in order to fucking troll them right to their face. Like, that one, Tyler did start for sure, but Brent and his crew were the ones that continued it, at least from everything that's present here. Of course, it is possible that there's a lot we don't see, but there's not like a hero in this story either. Both parties don't look good, but Brent Rivera and his team look significantly worse.
Cooperative and compliant with us, and I appreciate you being reasonable about it.
For sure. My apologies. Sorry, guys.
All right.
It ends as you'd expect. Brent does get them kicked out. The cops do show up, and I'm sure Brent finished that video and it sucks. I guarantee that shit is trash. But that's the conclusion here. Just some petty YouTuber beef that I thought was just at least silly enough to talk about. That's about it. See ya. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. This year, I'm thankful for the Paradox Metaverse crypto scam. It's the gift that just keeps on giving. Just when you think it's finally flatlined, no heartbeat left, someone brings out the defibrillator and gives us yet another embarrassing disaster to point and laugh at. To think it was only a brief 24 hours ago that the head of Paradox Metaverse embarrassed himself on video with the worst response the internet has ever seen. It honestly would have been less shameful for this guy if his sex tape leaked instead of that video being made. So his name is Amio Talio. He's the face of Paradox Metaverse, and it hasn't even been a full day and a half, and he's already put his ass in his mouth yet again and made an even bigger fool of himself. So while all of you are enjoying your feast, eating turkey, Amio's eating shit. I'll quickly bring everyone up to speed in case you don't know what this situation's about. Paradox Metaverse is a crypto company that has 7 components, all of which are like the 7 deadly sins of crypto. Each one is crazier and more nutty than the last. None of them seem legitimate whatsoever, promising outrageous things like potentially $500 a day through playing their game, or like these staking protocols that could potentially yield 10 to 100x your money. It's just dumb shit that has been a very common scam in the crypto space for years now. And they decided to do a big marketing push by going on iShow Speed Stream and having him shill their project for 2.5 hours. It didn't go over well. Everyone laughed at them, saying L scam, and it was a big deal. Speed has apologized and moved on. Some people have forgiven him, some people haven't. That's totally up to the individual on how they feel about the situation, but the people that haven't moved on the most are Paradox Metaverse themselves. They have just been getting saltier, and more delusional, and it is pathetic to watch. So, a little over 24 hours ago now, Amio Talio made his YouTube response video to all of the criticism, saying that it's only trolls and bots that believe this. If we were a scam, why would we still be here? It's rough. It's fucking rough. And then, shortly after that video came out, a YouTuber and TikTok content creator posted some voice memos that were sent to him by Amio Talio that were threatening his life. Just threatening to beat him up and threatening to put a bounty on him to have people beat him up for him. It's despicable shit. I'll go ahead and show you that now.
Little shit, I'm gonna come to you personally myself. Yeah? For spreading all that fake fucking lies on my name. You little bastard. Watch when I catch you, I'm gonna smash your teeth in. Every single time you look at your face in the mirror, you're gonna see your broke up nose bust up in 20 different places. That's what I'm gonna do, that big fucking nose of yours. Right? You thought it was funny, innit? You thought it's funny. You can just troll mans on the internet. Bro, I'm not an internet guy. What you see on the internet is one thing. Bro, I'll come there and I'll slap you in your fucking mouth. And the worst is, I'm gonna put your fucking name out, right? I'm gonna screenshot your username right now. I'm gonna put 10 bags down. So anyone that shows me this guy's address, right? Shows me this guy's address, I'll give him 10 bags. Watch how your own boys will snitch on you and give me your address. And then I'm gonna see what you're gonna say when I come there. Because I think you think I'm just some internet dickhead, bro. I'm not an internet dickhead.
Now that is extremely concerning to hear, but you have to wonder, is it legit? Because how the fuck could someone in the crypto space be so unaware of how technology works that he didn't realize that those voice memos could be saved? How the fuck would he be so stupid that it would be making criminal threats like that on Snapchat, knowing full well it could just be leaked, as it did here? So I wanted to know, is it real? And so did CoffeeZilla. CoffeeZilla just made a whole video diving deeper into Amio Talio, and CoffeeZilla talked to the person that received those threats and confirmed with them that they were real. And then it was also confirmed by Amio Talio's partner in Discord that, yeah, he really did send all of those threats, but it was just him being emotional. It was just an emotional moment, as if somehow that makes it okay.
he responds, I do agree, emotions can run high when you're being attacked, and everyone is believing it over the truth and it's overshadowing it. I guess the strategy here being the best way to stop people from thinking you're a scam is distract them with threats of criminal violence.
CoffeeZilla then goes on to showcase other instances where Amio has these meltdowns, even before Paradox Metaverse. This predates that. He's had plenty of moments in his past where he just threatens people and freaks out over nothing and just goes fucking ballistic. So this is far from an isolated incident with Amio Talio. This guy freaks out and rages more than a child playing Call of Duty on Xbox Live. It's so pathetic. I also should mention that he did follow through on that threat of putting a bounty on this guy's life. On his Snapchat, there's a screenshot that CoffeeZilla shows where he made this statement, 5K to the person that grabs him and brings him to me, which sounds like a threat straight out of Gotham City here, with like an order given by Carmine Falcone. CoffeeZilla had the same level of confusion by this that I did, because neither one of us could believe this guy was this stupid, just a giant fucking imbecile, making public threats like this on Snapchat. So he took a picture of the TikTok creator's Snapchat and said 5K to bring me this guy. Like, you have to be out of your mind to think that that's somehow a good idea. I don't know if his brain malfunctioned and he forgot where he was, like he thought he was playing GTA 5 role-playing or whatever, but it is fucking baffling that this actually happened, and it's all just so public, too.
You think by the time you even get your fucking TikToks out, and by the time you can even fucking go to sleep, you little bastard, I wanna come see you. You think I'm gonna let motherfucking trolls like you little bastard, get away with the shit you're gonna get away with? You think this is the case? Bro, see what happens tonight. I'll come see you myself. Go call whoever the fuck you want. Call the police. Do what the fuck you want. Make your little TikToks, you little pussy, yo. I ain't letting this shit go away.
Apparently, the reason he was so mad at this guy is due to threats of blackmail, I guess. At least that's what they were saying. But CoffeeZilla talked to the guy in the video here, and he had no clue what any of that was about, so there's no evidence to suggest there was any level of blackmail that warranted this kind of response. Not that anything would ever justify it, but that blackmail story that they tried to run with seems to be complete dog shit, like actual baloney. There's no proof of that. But there is clearly proof of Amio Talio sending these threats, and these have been verified as him sending these threats. Especially given his history of doing shit like this, it's extremely concerning. And even the community of Paradox Metaverse brainwashed zombies that for some reason bought into this whole idea, they got weirded out by this whole hoopla from Amio Talio here saying that it's not a good look, which it's not. It's like the worst look possible for your company. I mean, it's downright criminal behavior. And this has happened before where someone whose image is, I don't give a fuck, I'm too cool to care, multi-millionaire, doesn't bother me, let the sheep say what they want, not gonna bother with it. The second that person shows a weakness like this, where they're clearly hurt and offended and now making these threats and puffing out their chest and embarrassing themselves, people turn on them. Like, no matter how loyal the following, when they see that you get offended and this insecure, they turn on you like fucking piranhas. So Amio coming in here and showcasing how hurt his feelings were and then making these ridiculous threats, even his own community starts scratching their head and getting a little worried about this whole project. And you can see it kind of reflected in their coin's price, which continues to just dip and hopefully will plummet to less than zero soon enough. And hopefully the TikTok creator is safe. An outrageous situation overall that I just wanted to share because this is the latest update in this story that I've been following. And that's really about it. So yep. Last night at around midnight, we were blessed with another chapter in this never-ending story of drama with Nintendo, Panda, and Smash World Tour. This is of course a scene I'm very passionate about since our esports organization literally started in Smash Brothers. Without Smash Brothers operating the way that it has been, there would be no Moist Esports, and without Moist Esports, the world is a worse place. So I've been following this story extremely closely, and last night we got a brand new development. Now, we had previously already had a statement from Nintendo. They dusted off their typewriter and sent in the carrier pigeons to deliver their letter, stating that the cancellation of the Smash World Tour was, I guess, a bit of a misunderstanding. They didn't give them an official license for the Smash World Tour, but apparently verbally said they're okay to continue it, even though Smash World Tour says that verbally they said the opposite, that grassroots unlicensed events aren't welcomed anymore. So very conflicting reports there. I tend to lean on the side of Smash World Tour organizers being more truthful in this situation, since it seemed Nintendo was kind of in panic mode and delivered that statement. And then we also got a statement from Panda saying the same thing as Nintendo, but then also dismissing Alan's behavior as not that big of a deal. Alan was the CEO of Panda who went around and would threaten events if they didn't join his circuit instead of the Smash World Tour. He would say, like, it'd be a shame if this got shut down. It'd be a real shame to get Nintendo involved here. So he acted like the Smash Brothers Mafia, running a protection racket. And when Panda released their initial statement, they kind of dismissed it as not a huge issue. They acknowledged it briefly, saying, like, yeah, Alan went rogue. He started breaking kneecaps of people that didn't want to join the Panda Cup and threatened to maybe get Nintendo involved in their unlicensed event and maybe intervene. But, you know, it is what it is. That wasn't great, but that's okay. Alan cares. We all care. At Panda, it's community first. We're here to fuck some ass and have some fun. But that wasn't received positively, since they didn't really address anything. It was very much a nothing sandwich. And then last night at midnight, Panda released another statement, and Alan did as well. Alan finally came out of the shadows, putting on his superhero cape in order to save the day by releasing his side of the situation, and instead of actually making a real statement, he dropped a teaser trailer for an upcoming statement. So he said that he has evidence to prove two things, and then dropped a picture of bullet points, 2 bullet points. The first one, Smash World Tour lied, and the second one, Beyond the Summit, which was the organization that he had threatened, was actually jeopardizing the community. That's all he said, but he said he has evidence to prove these claims, but he didn't provide it yet. So, if he does have evidence to back these up, that would be a huge Uno reverse moment, but I don't really know what that evidence could look like there, unless he's coming out with the wildest receipts the internet's ever seen, and he drops like a 14,000 word Mick Gordon response. But again, I don't know what his proof could even look like, unless he has fairy godparents that could just poof some magic shit into existence, because a lot of the claims have been confirmed by multiple sources. I think the only thing Alan could have is emails between him and Nintendo, where Alan maybe fought for Smash World Tour to not be canceled, like maybe he was trying to, dissuade Nintendo from taking action against them. He was trying to, push them in the other direction. Of course, I'm just spitballing here, but I do think it's important to mention that Smash World Tour in their initial statement never explicitly said that Panda was responsible for the shutdown of their world tour. They just pointed out the bad behavior from Alan that messied the water and made it extremely difficult for the Smash World Tour to actually function properly with their communications with Nintendo, and made it a less than optimal environment for this circuit to exist in, with how everything was being handled by Alan and Panda. So overall, that section in the Smash World Tour statement that focused on Panda was mainly just shining a light on a history of bad behavior from Alan, and how he would leverage that relationship he had with Nintendo against other organizers, like with the threats he had made. So it was just talking about the negative implications from his behavior and how it affected that whole community of tournament organizers and made that whole scene worse behind the scenes. So it was never directly accusing Alan of being the one, the mastermind behind their shutdown. It was more so just accusing him of being a bad actor that was really acting in their own selfish interests. Not so much being the one that forced Nintendo's hand to shut everyone else down or anything like that. Though of course there are plenty of ways of reading between the lines with Alan's history of using that Nintendo relationship to scare other organizers, like where he basically went to Beyond the Summit and said, might need to get Nintendo involved in this unlicensed event unless you give me broadcasting rights or join the Panda Cup or whatever. You could then say that there was a very real chance that Alan did that again to the Smash World Tour, which eventually led to its shutdown. But that was never a claim Smash World Tour themselves were making. They were never saying Alan was the one that made Nintendo do that. They were just showcasing his bad behavior throughout the months and how it negatively affected the relationship for everyone. So I guess, and this is again just speculating, Alan could come forward with that evidence saying no, I never made Nintendo shut Smash World Tour down. I never shut Smash World Tour down. That wasn't me. That's a lie. But again, that was not the claim Smash World Tour themselves were making against Alan. Of course, once again, I'm just throwing darts at a dartboard on what his evidence could look like, but I am extremely excited to see it when he chooses to provide it. I think it's extremely important that we all have a full look at the entire situation from all sides, so that evidence, I think, is extremely important for everyone to see. Hold on, we got some breaking news from the front lines here. Perfect timing. They tweeted this right at the end of that set. Panda has heard the concerns of the Smash community and is taking immediate action. Well, you're wrong. This is not immediate. This is now like 4 or 5 days later. Alan is no longer CEO effective immediately. In the interim, Panda employees are working with outside advisors to form a temporary interim management committee to act as CEO to navigate this critical time. It is a critical time. Their company is burning. They've lost 80% of their talent. Literally 80% of their salaried players have left or expressed intentions to leave now. So the company would die should that happen. The identities of those in the IMC will not be made public at this time due to concerns over harassment and safety. Fair. The IMC's immediate priorities are work with any team member that desires to resign, including release from any contractual obligations. Good. Support those who feel displaced through these events to find a home, either with Panda or another org. Solid. We call on the community to treat those affected by these events with grace, understanding, and call out and report any attempts of doxing harassment. Additionally, due to security concerns for our staff and contractors, the Panda Cup finale is postponed. Yeah, everyone that was going left. They all went to main stage instead or just outright canceled, so that's probably a good call because it would have been so fucking pathetic to actually watch that broadcast with empty seats and no players. Would have been going to like my 16th birthday party. The IMC will work to ensure or issue refunds to all those who registered, and Panda is committed to demonstrating our dedication to the community and everyone who shares our passion. Panda is committed to doing our part to move the competitive Smash community above and beyond the current situation, starting with an eternal restructure and re-education. That word is always so dystopian, a re-education. It makes it sound like they're going to lobotomize all the employees. To our values as members of this community. Had this been their initial statement, I would have believed them more. If they did this first, I don't think they would have lost 80% of their players. Their first statement was like, hey, yeah, Alan went rogue, and man, that was silly, wasn't it? But that's okay. Hey, Panda Cup's gonna fucking eat ass. It's gonna go great. Gonna get out there and really steam ham. Like, just downplaying the severity of everything and just being really dismissive. That was a terrible response. This should have been their first one. This one's better. Action. Alan's no longer CEO. Okay, makes sense. He literally did his best to bury this company. Oh, a rededication. Oh my god. Oh, I thought that said re-education. A rededication. That's a seldomly used word. I thought it was going to be about employee training or something. Like, remind them why we're in here and, like, why we're in the community. I haven't seen rededication since, fuck, probably ever. Yeah, ceremony in which a building or other structures is formally declared for the second, third, etc. time to have a particular purpose to honor a person or group. Alan's still working at Panda, though. Yeah, but even still, this shows action. Forcing him to step down takes away his power to intimidate other orgs, so he can no longer make those threats about shutting down. This just feels like a big panic response, and it's still not like the best action. Whoops. It's still not like the best action they're taking. Like, it is a step in the right direction, but I don't know how they could ever prove they care about the community going forward after what happened. Like, I don't know how they could ever earn that trust back. So I still don't really see a future for Panda events. Now, maybe they'll be able to earn enough trust back to prevent the other 20% of their players from leaving. That I can't really say. That's a personal decision, and I wouldn't hold it against them if they choose to stay with Panda. Because again, in the fighting game community, money is hard to come by. Prize pools for fighting games are actual nothing burgers. You get like cigarettes. You get like a pack of cigarettes, like chat said. So you're not making money in the fighting game community unless you're sponsored. You're just losing money. So anyone that chooses to stay with them, I totally understand. I think the damage has already been done, and I don't really think there's a way of healing it. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, right? You know, as they say. The genie's not going back in the bottle. Had that just been their first response, I think they probably could have saved their company. Who knows? Maybe they still can. Don't think there's a way to save it after the double down. That's what I said. Their first response, I think, was what actually buried them. Had they come out with this more hard-lined approach, I do think they would have had a much better chance. Like I said, I still think it's probably too little too late. I don't know how you really earn back the community's trust after this shit. I really don't know how. I haven't read this yet, so this is going to be breaking for all of us. What is missing from this statement is any mention of Alan divesting his interest in the company. My understanding is Alan owns Panda and basically controls the company. At first blush, this just sounds like damage control and a desperate attempt at grabbing a life draft. Yeah, I guess that's a good point. I still think by not being the CEO, he loses most of his power with those, like, threats he was making, but, I mean, LD knows far more than I do about this. Now, for those that don't know, LD is with Beyond the Summit. He was one of the people that was directly threatened by Alan. Alan, you know, threatened after not receiving broadcasting rights or BTS joining the Panda Cup, threatened to, like, he slyly said Nintendo might have to shut this unlicensed event down. Be a real shame if this just came collapsing down. Like the, you know, really getting super villainy with it. So, LD would know far more than I would here. Smash World Tour lied, and Beyond the Summit leadership put the community in jeopardy. That is perhaps one of the douchiest things I have seen. My statement with evidence is coming. Why wouldn't you wait till you had evidence instead of this Twitter... this, like, Tumblr attitude post. So he doesn't even deny threatening them, by the way. He's going to try and justify why he threatened them, saying that their leadership would have jeopardized the community. So I tried to be this saint to extend my bosom for them to suckle in safety. I was doing this for the community. If we let BTS leadership run rampant, the community would have died. At least that's the impression I get. Watch where you're scrolling. Mario is showing his ass in the reply section. Oh, is it Mario Goatsy? I am very excited to see what evidence he has for Smash World Tour lying. Considering they have the statements in writing from Nintendo, and multiple orgs have confirmed Alan having repeated behavior about making those threats. I'm very curious to see. Maybe he has some wild receipts. Maybe. But he should have waited to post those instead of this. Anything but this. Who had a worse response to backlash, Alan or Helena Taylor? I just can't really consider this Alan's response. Helena Taylor tried to, like, weasel her way out of that situation. Alan's just, he did 2 bullet points saying, it's a lie, and the other people are bad leaders. Every single day there's been a new jump scare of crazy shit happening somewhere in the world, and every time I fire on the internet, it feels like I'm trapped in a bad fan fiction written on DeviantArt. It's just so much, and I've been trying to keep my finger on the pulse of everything, and it's overwhelming. I feel like a cold turkey being dunked in a deep fat fryer. I'm about to explode right now. But I wanted to make this video going over all those topics because I keep getting asked about it. I've become somewhat of a cum dumpster for drama, so I of course have been keeping up with most things going on, so let's just go over all of it here, at least to some degree. So slap on your snorkel because we're diving into the deep end. I want to start with the Balenciaga situation. Balenciaga is a high fashion brand that I'm sure all of you have heard of at least in passing before, and they recently ran a really disturbing ad campaign where they had a photo shoot involving children holding their favorite toys, but those toys, in some cases, were a plush teddy bear in BDSM gear. There was some other awful ones as well, but that's the one that stood out to most people because it was actual BDSM gear, and also a little girl was surrounded by like wine glasses and a spiked dog bowl. It's fucking awful stuff. I don't know who in their right mind came up with this idea or how they okayed this. They must have brought Jeffrey Epstein back with necromancy and asked him for some input on their next ad campaign, because this is bafflingly awful. And Balenciaga put out a pretty bizarre statement about it, by making the claim that kids were never even supposed to be involved in that photo shoot with the BDSM bears. But that seems provably false because the photographer who took the pictures has an entire career out of doing that in a very different way. So this photographer goes around the world, takes pictures of kids with their favorite toys out. And that seems to be what they did here for Balenciaga, but the toys they made the kids put out were the BDSM bears, the spiked bowl, and shit like that. The photographer, Galimberti, also came out and said that he had no say whatsoever in the items that were displayed or anything. He was just instructed to go to set and take the pictures in his signature style. So it seems it was a Balenciaga decision, not a him decision. From what I can tell, the photographer takes these pictures of kids and their toys, and it's supposed to be like a wholesome thing, but with Balenciaga, they completely bastardized that and turned it into something very fucking different. So their claim that kids weren't supposed to be there doesn't make any sense considering all of these factors. But this was only the tip of the iceberg, because after this happened, people dug a bit deeper into their 2023 spring catalog and they found this picture. This is an advertisement for a Balenciaga purse, and why is it important? Well, all of those papers that look like a tornado just hit and they're thrown all over the place aren't visible except for one. And if you zoom in on that picture, you can see that it's a 2008 Supreme Court case involving child pornography. And I want to shout out Mudahar here because he did a great job covering all of this. So if you want a deeper look into this whole situation, I highly recommend going to his channel, Some Ordinary Gamers. And that piece of paper that's visible in the shot is all about this case right here, which focused on child pornography as well as like promotion and advertising, shit like that. It's a very weird thing to have in a Balenciaga ad, especially when coupled with their last photo shoot using those little girls. So obviously these two things together made people very upset and very concerned with Balenciaga, like why the fuck is this happening? And Balenciaga responded by suing the ad company that ran the purse one that had the child porn document, calling it extraordinarily reckless and looking for $25 million after the damage that the photos have done to their brand. Now, Balenciaga it certainly isn't blameless here. Like, Balenciaga didn't just pass these things off to the ad firm here and let them run wild, Hulkmania running wild on their brand without any say-so from Balenciaga. There's no shot. They wouldn't just let them make their own shit and then publish it without Balenciaga ever coming through and approving it. They had to thoroughly go through these things, I imagine, in order to give it the green light. Is it possible with the purse one that they didn't bother to look at that document that was showing? Maybe, but that's still Balenciaga bears a lot of blame there. Take more time to make sure you haven't just been bamboozled by this ad company. And in the other case with the photo shoots involving the children, Balenciaga seems to be the one that was behind that and then just brought a photographer on to take the pictures. Like, that one's entirely on them. So with that in mind, it's kind of easy to see why people connect the dots that Balenciaga is for some reason trying to promote their brand using children in a very inappropriate manner. So that's kind of the gist on that situation, and I'm going to just go ahead and move on to the next one. But again, if you want more information on it, I do think Mudahar from Some Ordinary Gamers does a great breakdown. But moving on to the next one, this one isn't nearly as serious. The new Mario trailer dropped, and everyone asks me what I think of Chris Pratt's voice. But before I get into that, I'll go ahead and address the Christmas tree being absent in the background. Io is obsessed with eating the branches, which of course is not good for a cat's digestive system. So I've had to remove the tree because she keeps trying to devour it and trying to steal Christmas like the Grinch here, because she just really likes the little branches on it. So that's why that's not there. And yeah, just want to clear that up. But back to Mario. Trailer dropped and a lot of people were debating, does Chris Pratt's voice suck ass as Mario? And people have been asking me what I think, so I'll just go ahead and give my opinion on it. I don't think Chris Pratt would have been a horrible fit if he put more effort into it. It really feels like he just phoned in his whole performance, at least based on this trailer. Of course, the full movie could come out and it could blow me away, I guess. But in this trailer, it feels like he's not even trying. Like, half the times, it sounds like he's delivering his lines while he's about to pass out from Xanax. Like, it doesn't really seem like he's giving it his best. Whereas Jack Black as Bowser, I thought fucking crushed it. I think Jack Black was a great casting choice for Bowser. Chris Pratt, I'm definitely not sold on. It doesn't really seem like he's trying. I did, however, watch all of the other languages for this trailer, and I think the best one is the French dub. The French voice actor for Mario, I thought, really went after it and did a great job. But yeah, Chris Pratt, I don't think is really getting the job done for Mario and doing it justice. Of course, you can disagree with me. It's not that big of a deal. I just figured I'd chime in on it. And since we're already on the topic of Nintendo, I'll go ahead and give a shocking update there. Nintendo released a patch for the new Pokemon Scarlet Violet, and they even addressed how awful and unacceptable the performance is of the game, saying that they want to make it better and will make it better, which I nearly shit my pants. I almost fucking flew out of my chair when I read that Nintendo actually acknowledged how awful the state of the game is from a performance perspective. Now, I've said I do like the gameplay of the game, and I understand a lot of people do, but the performance is still unacceptable. Running at 2 frames per second most of the time and having so many bugs and glitches and so many issues, it's definitely not a $60 game with polish. And Nintendo actually acknowledging that is crazy. But one thing they've failed to acknowledge is the shutting down of the Smash World Tour, which they did a little over 24 hours ago, coming up on 48 hours actually. Shutting down one of the biggest Smash Brothers circuit that's ever happened, only a couple weeks before it was finally about to wrap up. Nintendo hasn't said anything about that, and nor has Panda or Alan from Panda, who seem to have been the puppet master behind this entire evil scheme. None of them have come forward with anything to explain it or give their side of the story, so we're all still waiting on bated breath to see their perspective, but for now it's just radio silence, seeming like all of Panda all at once just evacuated the office to go into hiding, like a fucking rapture hit Panda's organization headquarters, because still nothing from them. I feel like they should address it as quickly as possible, but I believe I heard from HBox that they're getting a very serious statement prepared with like a legal team and everything. For those that don't know, I'll give you a brief recap. I made a video on it yesterday, but I'll just give you like the cliff notes. Smash World Tour, biggest tournament, biggest circuit that's ever been held for Smash Brothers professional players. It was about to wrap up. The night before Thanksgiving, Nintendo gave them notice that they can't do it anymore. It's being shut down. Smash World Tour had been in communication with Nintendo directly through the entire duration of the tournament, so this really came out of nowhere. And then it was revealed with the statement from Smash World Tour that it seems more like Panda Cup, the Panda Cup, which was a competing circuit, had a very strong role to play in this shutdown of their tournament. Panda is led by Alan, who is the head of Panda, and it seems like he had been having a history of going around and trying to scare other tournaments into joining the Panda Cup, and if they refused, he started making threats about getting Nintendo to shut them down. This has been confirmed by more than just the Smash World Tour organizers. It's been confirmed by other reputable organizers as well about Alan's behavior. So we really do need a statement from them to talk about their side about this situation, but we don't have it yet. Now, there have been a couple of other big things going on, but I haven't had the chance to really spread the cheeks and get to the bottom of those stories, so I'm going to be doing some more research on those and probably make videos about it later on. Really, the last topic that I want to quickly touch on is the Liver King, who I made a video about yesterday as well. The Liver King, giant fitness influencer, has a lot of businesses, claims to make over $100 million a year based on those businesses, and has always claimed that his physique is naturally obtained, but emails leaked that show that he actually cycles a lot of like HGH and shit like that. So not natty at all, it appears. He still hasn't come forward. He is still actively posting and ignoring it. I believe he still only made that one statement I talked about yesterday where he says he'd like to talk about a complicated issue, referring to this, on podcasts. So he still hasn't been on any yet, but I am excited to see how he explains this, because he's already lost the chance to deny it. He didn't say those emails were fake. He said that they highlight a complicated issue. So it seems like he's going to try and tackle these things head on and go over it. So I'm curious to see what that's going to look like, but we don't have any developments there either. So this is most things going on in the world at the moment, and I just wanted to get all of it out in one video so that way people stop asking me about all of these individual things. So yeah, this is the giant stew of all of those topics. That's about it. See ya.